The day my sister announced to an entire room full of people that I was infertile, she thought she had finally won. She thought she had humiliated me. She thought she had exposed my biggest secret. And for a few seconds, standing there in front of our family and friends, I honestly felt like she had. Then my doctor stood up, and everything changed. My name is Sarah. For most of my life, my younger sister Emily treated life like a competition. If I got an A in school, she needed an A+. If I bought a new car, she needed a better one. If I got engaged, she had to get engaged faster. Everything was a race, everything was a contest, and somehow nothing was ever enough. Growing up, our parents ignored most of it. They called it sibling rivalry. I called it exhausting. By the time we reached our 30s, I had learned to keep my distance. Emily wasn't the kind of person you could trust with personal information. Every secret eventually became gossip. Every weakness became ammunition. Every vulnerable moment became a story she could tell to make herself feel superior. That's why I never intended to tell her about my fertility struggles. Unfortunately, she found out anyway. My husband Mark and I had been trying to have a baby for almost 3 years. 3 painful years, 3 years of negative pregnancy tests, 3 years of doctor appointments, 3 years of watching friends announce pregnancies while I smiled through heartbreak. Nobody prepares you for that kind of pain. Every month felt like another loss. Every family gathering came with questions. When are you two having kids? You'd make such wonderful parents. Don't wait too long. People meant well, but they had no idea what those words felt like. After dozens of tests, my doctor told me there were complications affecting our chances of conceiving naturally. The news devastated me, not because motherhood defined my worth, but because it was something I desperately wanted, something Mark desperately wanted. For months, only 4 people knew: me, Mark, my doctor, and my best friend Lisa. Then Emily somehow found out. I never learned exactly how. Maybe she overheard something. Maybe our mother mentioned it. Maybe she simply went looking for information like she always did. Whatever the reason, she knew. At first, she pretended to be supportive. She called me, sent messages, asked how I was feeling. For a brief moment, I actually thought she was changing. I should have known better. 3 months later, our parents hosted a large family celebration for their 40th wedding anniversary. More than 80 guests attended: family members, friends, co-workers, neighbors, people from every stage of my parents' lives. The evening started beautifully. Everyone was happy. The food was excellent. The atmosphere felt warm and relaxed. Then Emily decided she wanted attention. Halfway through dinner, she stood up and tapped her glass. The room became quiet. Everyone assumed she wanted to give a speech honoring our parents. Instead, she turned toward me and smiled. That smile immediately made me nervous. "Before we celebrate Mom and Dad," she said loudly, "I think we should acknowledge someone else." My stomach tightened. Several guests looked toward me. Emily continued, "Sarah has been going through something difficult lately." My heart nearly stopped. No, no, please don't. I knew exactly where this was going. Mark reached for my hand under the table. Emily's smile grew wider. For years she's been trying to have a baby. The room went silent. Every face turned toward me. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. Then Emily delivered the final blow. "Unfortunately, she's infertile." The word echoed through the room. Infertile. I felt dozens of eyes staring at me. Pity, shock, embarrassment, curiosity, every emotion imaginable. I wanted the floor to open beneath me. I wanted to disappear. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others looked away. A few relatives immediately started whispering. And Emily? Emily looked satisfied, like she had just won a prize. That's when something unexpected happened. A chair scraped against the floor. Someone stood up. Dr. Rebecca Hayes, my fertility specialist. She happened to be attending the anniversary party because she had been close friends with my mother for years. Emily hadn't realized that most people didn't know she was my doctor. Dr. Hayes calmly placed her napkin on the table and looked directly at Emily. What an interesting statement. Emily's smile faded slightly. The room became even quieter. Dr. Hayes folded her hands. As Sarah's physician, I normally wouldn't discuss private medical information. My heart started racing. Emily suddenly looked nervous. Then Dr. Hayes continued, but since inaccurate information has been publicly shared, I think it's important to clarify something. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Everyone listened. Dr. Hayes looked directly at me first, then at Mark, then at Emily. Sarah is not infertile. The room exploded with confusion. Emily's face turned white. What? Dr. Hayes remained calm. I said Sarah is not infertile. Emily laughed nervously. That's not what I heard. No, Dr. Hayes replied, because you don't know what you're talking about. Several people gasped. For the first time all evening, I felt something other than humiliation, hope. Dr. Hayes continued carefully. Sarah has a medical condition affecting fertility. Those are not the same thing. Emily opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. But nothing, Dr. Hayes interrupted. You're discussing private medical information you clearly don't understand. The room became painfully silent. Then Dr. Hayes delivered the sentence that changed everything. In fact, Sarah and Mark recently received very encouraging test results. My eyes widened. Mark looked equally shocked. Dr. Hayes smiled gently. We were planning to discuss them next week. I stared at her. What results? For the first time, Dr. Hayes looked directly at me. The treatment is working. I couldn't speak. For months, every update had been disappointing. Every appointment brought more uncertainty. Now suddenly everything felt different. The doctor smiled. Very well. Tears filled my eyes. Mark squeezed my hand. Around us, guests began realizing exactly what had happened. Emily hadn't exposed a secret. She had publicly humiliated herself. She had weaponized private medical information. And she had been completely wrong. My mother looked horrified. My father looked furious. Emily looked trapped. The rest of dinner was painfully awkward. Nobody wanted to sit near her. Nobody wanted to talk to her. For once, she wasn't the center of attention. She was the center of judgment. The following morning, my phone exploded. Relatives called nonstop. Some apologized for not stopping Emily sooner. Others wanted details. Most simply wanted to know if I was okay. The surprising part, nobody defended Emily. Not even our parents. For years she had escaped consequences. This time was different. Because everyone witnessed it. Everyone heard her. Everyone saw exactly who she was. 3 days later, Emily showed up at my house. She looked exhausted. I want to explain. I left. No. Sarah, please. No. For years I had listened to explanations, excuses, apologies that weren't really apologies. I was done. She started crying. I didn't think it would go like that. There it was, not regret, not guilt, embarrassment. She wasn't upset she hurt me. She was upset she embarrassed herself. I looked at her calmly. You told 80 people about my medical history. Emily stared at the ground. I know. No, you don't. Then I closed the door. For the first time in my life, I stopped trying to fix our relationship. 6 months later, something incredible happened. Mark and I were sitting in Dr. Hayes' office. I was shaking. Mark was holding my hand. Dr. Hayes smiled. Then she turned the monitor toward us, and there it was. A heartbeat. A tiny heartbeat. I immediately started crying. Mark started crying too. Neither of us cared. Years of fear, years of disappointment, years of uncertainty, and suddenly there was hope. Real hope. 9 months later, our daughter Lily entered the world. Healthy, beautiful, perfect. When I held her for the first time, I forgot every painful comment, every awkward question, every negative test, every cruel word my sister ever said, because none of it mattered anymore. The funny thing is that people still ask whether Emily ever changed. The answer is complicated. She became more careful, more cautious, less willing to gossip publicly. But true change requires accountability, and I'm not sure she ever fully accepted responsibility. What I do know is this: we aren't close anymore, and that's okay. Some relationships survive betrayal, others survive distance. Ours survived neither. The day my sister told everyone I was infertile, she thought she had exposed my greatest weakness. Instead, she revealed her own cruelty, jealousy, insecurity. And while she was busy trying to humiliate me, she forgot something important. The truth has a funny way of showing up. Sometimes it arrives quietly, sometimes it arrives at exactly the right moment, and sometimes it stands up in the middle of a crowded room wearing a doctor's name tag and changes everything. That night, my sister learned a lesson she should have learned years earlier. Someone else's pain is not your opportunity. And when you use another person's struggle to make yourself feel important, eventually the world sees exactly who you are. As for me, I got something much better than revenge. I got my daughter. And every time I hear her laugh, I remember that some victories are worth waiting for.